Hello and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 76. And a moment of silence today for Stephen Hawking, whose death was just announced. I was a physics major, so, Stephen Hawking was considered the best of the best, kind of the best on the planet. Him and Feynman. Feynman was dead already, but wow. It's kind of, you always expected him to die because of his disability, but then he kept going. And it's, I guess, just so impressive what he was able to do, disability or not. All right, we won't talk about Stephen Hawking, although he's had a lot of interesting things to say over the years, I think. Instead, we're going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about what you think about. I have one more day tomorrow to chill out and not spend any money for my next paycheck, and then I get into a new cycle of not trying to spend money, because I think I decided to do it for the entire month of March, I guess. Go back 14 days in the past and ask myself what exactly I intended. I don't know. But I realized today that one reason that I've been so successful this March so far is because I haven't had to expend a lot of effort. And the reason why I haven't had to expend a lot of effort to do it has been that my default behavior is pretty cheap. And I haven't had a lot of big emotional struggles about money that I wanted to spend but shouldn't spend. Certainly there were things like discounts and stuff that came up that I wanted, but I was able to pretty quickly ignore them, set them aside, close the window, not care, and emotionally it didn't bother me. And I wanted to discuss that because several years ago that would not have been true. I would have agonized over a 25% discount on a video game system I wanted a lot. I really would have been tempted to do all kinds of crazy stuff to buy that video game system. And so I just wanted to give you some background. When I was trying to increase my savings rate early on, of course you go through all the normal things, like you figure out what you're spending money on, and you reduce bills that you can reduce. And my cat loves jumping on the desk to annoy me. And, just like subscriptions that you really don't need, you cancel them, those types of things. But you also continue to have a certain level of impulse spending. And you try to think, how can I decrease this impulse spending? And for me, what I noticed is that I had a habit that I would go to work, come home, I'd play something on TV, and then I'd look at product reviews. And I'd look at cool shots that people took of a product, especially yo-yos. I love yo-yo pictures. And typically I would find like a single product that was like the next coolest thing that I wanted, and then I would just look up everything I could about it. If there was a written review, if there was a YouTube video about it, if there were a bunch of eBay listings, different prices and qualities, forum posts, any information I could get about this, I would consume it. And eventually, like when I had some money, I would buy that thing, and then I would kind of like enjoy it some, but then forget about it and focus on something else. And I realized that, because I always phrased this to myself as a love of products, but what I realized is that love of products or not, if I'm going to save some money, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to have to find something else to do in the evening. And what I decided to do was to take walks and listen to audiobooks instead. So that's what I decided to do in 2014. I just walked a lot and I listened to these audiobooks. And it worked. It worked. I stopped accumulating things that I didn't actually have time to use. And I started saving a lot more money. And as you can see, to this day, my habits are different. In 2018, I am writing and filming videos talking about how to efficiently use money to reach long-term goals instead of shopping on Amazon. And so I'd invite you to participate in a similar exercise. Certainly not that you need to walk for 7 miles a day like I did, but I think it's really useful when you're trying to increase your savings rate to take an inventory about what you think about on a daily basis. Because we have habits around what we think about. And if you can identify the top 10 things that you think about, and you can figure out, what are the top 3 that you don't like, and then you can think a step further and you can think about what triggers those thoughts. For me, it was sitting down in the evening to relax and then opening up Amazon or whatever it was. Then you can begin to change what you're thinking about on a daily basis. So you can get yourself away from the couch, get yourself away from, whatever device you're using to shop and look at that stuff, and you can have some kind of replacement activity. And that replacement activity could just be, staring at your spouse, having a conversation, or that replacement activity could be some kind of exercise, or that replacement activity could be a good old-fashioned book, just a paper book that you read where there's not a web browser to tempt you into online shopping. And beyond shopping, there's also some positive thoughts that you would like to have in your life as your top 10, but you simply don't have. And I think that gratitude and acknowledging the good things in your life is one of those. So when you're inventorying your daily thoughts, you want to specifically check, is gratitude in my top 10? Or is it something that when I feel gratitude, it just kind of happens randomly and I'm lucky that it happens? Or do I have a sign on my door? Or do I have a habit that when I get in the shower, I start thinking about the top 5 things that I'm grateful for? I've also heard couples when they go to bed together, they will each list out 3 things that they're happy about or grateful for that day. And doing it together helps them. Another thing to think about is what you talk about with your friends. Do you talk about new perspectives on things you already own or new things you would like to own? And what is their savings rate? What is the net worth trajectory they are going in? And I'm not asking this, or I'm not asking these questions because I think that friends should have a certain net worth trajectory, or because I think friends should have a certain savings rate, and all your friends need to be frugal, demon, Dave Ramsey, Lewis, devil. Because I don't believe that. I don't think it's true. But I do think that it's helpful to notice. It's just helpful to take notice and just know what's going on, because a lot of times when we notice what's going on, it makes us more in control, because it lets us separate what we want to do with the stuff that's going around us instead of kind of going with the flow of whatever is around us just because we haven't really put that much thought into it. And with all these things, with what you think about at night, or what you talk about with people, or what you don't think about at night, like in the case of gratitude, I don't expect that anybody is going to be able to change this all at once. So I don't think it's helpful to put together some super extensive inventory of 30 days of, statistically spreadsheeted thoughts. So you identify a histogram of the top 10, and then you have a game plan for each of them. And if you don't execute the game plan for one of them on a given day, you log that, and then you hit yourself with a rubber band at night. No, that's ridiculous. I just think that if you identify the top 3, and then maybe you identify the top 1, and then you make a change to do something different with that one, and then you revisit that on a weekly or a monthly basis and put that on your calendar, then you can begin to see changes. And for me, this was tremendously helpful. The walks, they were when I read my investment books or listened to my investment books. They are when I read or listened to Dave Ramsey counsel tons of people through, car debt situations and all kinds of weird family lending situations and real estate situations, tax situations. And it was really the opposite of shopping for the high status artifacts that Thomas Stanley, the author of The Millionaire Next Door, mentions in that great book. And if you do this, if you think about what you're thinking about, and then you make specific changes in your life to influence the direction of your habitual daily thoughts, then your habitual daily thoughts are going to change. And yeah, it's going to take a while. Like, it's been years since 2014 when I originally started doing this stuff. But when you're able to change your default thoughts so that it's effortless to think about certain things, and I'm doing it to this day. To this day, I am practicing things to try and change my default thoughts. In particular, I listen to a lot of psychology books right now because I want to understand better what other people are thinking on a daily basis. And so much more often now than, say, 4 years ago, I stop myself during the day and I just think more about what I'm saying, about how other people might be hearing that, about why other people might be hearing that, about what I could say, about how I'm feeling at that moment, all these different things. And that kind of pause is something that I did not do as often when I wasn't thinking about it, when I wasn't thinking about how often I was pausing to, what's the good word for it? I don't remember. Because I'm trying to get to a point where my type 1 automatic thinking is going to regurgitate more information about what's going on and about the present moment than what its default is. My default for a very long time has been to go into deep analytical thought about things. And a lot of times that makes me tune out of the situation of what's going on around me. And I need to do less of that and more observation and just I also need to be able to very quickly ascertain what people around me are thinking rather than having to put a lot of thought into it, because right now that's where I'm at. I've got to put a lot of thought into it. So this is a continuous process, this whole thinking about thinking thing and trying to change it and reevaluating and all that stuff. And that's okay. It just means that we're improving throughout our lives, and anytime we want to change the direction of the type of stuff we think about, we're able to do it. There is a method. It's not a method that takes 10 minutes. Certainly will take a few months, but it will work, and it's available to you. All right, that's it for video number 76 of the 5-Year Club. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will think about the top topics in your life and what's driving them and what you would rather be thinking about. And be sad with me that a great scientific luminary is no longer with us. But, man, he had a hell of a career. And by all accounts, he was also a very nice person. And if you read some of his more recent stuff, he also cared a lot about humanity and about preserving humanity through time. All right, that's it. Have a fabulous evening.